refinancing her property, and the loan officer who has put together more than one of these deals, from what I learned, found a straw buyer, somebody she didn't even know. As a matter of fact, the straw buyer was, she met the straw buyer, and she had the connection. And by the time I looked at all the papers, on the loan application, the straw buyer's employment income was off the hook. When I told her how much money they had down for employment income, she's never seen that much money a year. So it was a bogus deal. You got to be careful with this refi thing. Even if that's an instance with a straw buyer. Now, in refinancing, let's stop and think about it. Even if a person was refinanceable, let's say they're down 4 or 5 months with their mortgage. Now, if they owe the bank, hypothetically, $400,000, and when you refinance, you got to refinance, you know, to get rid of the old loan, which is a $400,000.
Yes.
So if they had the equity, and let's say if they got to refinance for $420,000 to cover all of the closing expenses of $424,000, what happens? The larger the loan, the larger the monthly payment.
And possibly more interest.
And the more interest, too. Because if they're facing foreclosure and they can get something done legally because of the credit rating, you don't have A credit, your interest rate is going to be higher.
Yes.
So what have you done? You put yourself in a situation where you got to kick out even more money per month. So you haven't solved your problem.
That's true.
The way I do it, I go directly. If you're 4 months, 5 months, 10 months behind, bam, I deal with the institution. Okay? And I work based on the circumstances that are exposed to me and what this person has going for themselves. I try to work to develop something where they don't have to spend that type of money, okay? And then I throw them back into a hardship automatically.
Okay. That's wonderful.
Let me just give the number. You want to give the number?
Go right ahead.
888-820-2016. That's 888-820-2016, and that's Mr. Washington. Give him a call. And if you have any questions, give us a call here at the Staten Island Consumer Review at 718-727-0235.
Thank you for that announcement, Florence. I truly appreciate
well, I
it.
see you don't have your glasses on.
It's okay. But however, again, we're going to talk about, just for a few minutes now, what this market is. We know that, well, how is the real estate market right now? You said it's a buyer's market?
Oh, definitely.
Yes, it is.
Definitely. It's so many houses out there for sale right now that if a person has the proper credit rating and what it takes to make a down payment and closing costs, they're in a very, very, it's a good time for them.
It's a good time for them. Now, when buying a home, is it required that the buyer live in the home, or could they rent out entirely immediately upon purchase? Or?
Well, you got to be careful with that, because normally when a bank, when you do an application, you put an application, if it's an owner-occupied property, the down payment is lower. If it's investment property, then the down payment is higher. Okay? So if you're going to tell a bank that I'm going to live there during the life of this mortgage, that's what you're supposed to do, unless you somehow pay off the mortgage, or then you go do what you want to do.
Or separation.
But you are supposed to be there. Now, I've had some people who that I've encountered that were fell into a pre-foreclosure situation, only to find out that they have property A. They're supposed to be owner-occupied, and they rented it out, and they're living in property B, maybe in another state.
Oh, no.
Okay, now how am I going to present the bank, talk to the institution? Well, why aren't they in that owner-occupied property? So there's a very, very scary scenario they can present themselves.
Okay.
So what happens with separations and
like
how you had spouse separation?
Well,
that's a little different.
Well, that's different.
As you mentioned earlier.
Yes, that's different. I mean, if it comes to that point, they really need to seek legal counsel.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have situations where people buy each other out. I mean, the court has to make that decision based on the case that's presented by their attorneys. That's something they really need to seek legal counsel on.
Now, of course, we're going to expound a little bit on this, because this was one of the reasons why so many people fell into foreclosure. And this is one of the reasons why the United States government is making it their mission to search out people who were part of these bad mortgage give-outs, as I call them.
Mm-hmm.
But now, if a realtor or mortgage loan officer causes a homeowner to be put in a mortgage loan that is a disadvantage to the borrower, that is discovered after the fact, what action can be taken against those individuals who duped or defrauded the victim, and can they be investigated and penalized?
Yes, yes, yes. All night long. Mortgage fraud, there's an FBI website, mortgage fraud, it's a crime.
Okay.
Okay? I have cases right now that I'm actually been hired as a complaint investigation facilitator to initiate investigations. My first approach is to the people that were responsible for originating and to let them know, look, they can resolve this. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. John Doe has an outstanding mortgage of $400,000. Pay it or go on vacation.
Mm.
And you know what I'm talking about,
Oh, yeah.
involuntary vacation.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe we'll talk about some damages too. So there's a way to resolve this out of court if they want to do it my way. If they want to do it my way, then you know something? I have a lot of resources. I've had situations where I've had investigations started, people have been prosecuted, people have been jailed. I mean, whatever it takes. I mean, you commit the crime, you got to do the time. Okay? And then on top of that, there have been a lot of lawsuits against these individuals. A lot of them have lost their licenses. They've lost their livelihood. Okay? But you stop and think about all the damage that they've done. And it's not just to one individual. It's to a lot of people.
See, there are a lot of fat cats in this mortgage crisis sitting back someplace, you know, licking their chops. And there's some behind bars licking their wounds. But what I'd like to ask a question about is, let's say, for example, you have a mortgage with a company, and another mortgage company buys them out and jacks up the interest rates on your mortgage.
Well, I mean, the only way they can raise the interest rate is if there was stipulation from the very beginning. They just can't assign it to another mortgage company and they decide, well, I'm just going to raise the interest rate. If it was an adjustable rate from day one, then they have a right to raise that rate based on the indexes. Okay, so it's common that mortgages are sold from institution to institution because the first 15 years or so, people are paying only interest, basically.
Yes.
And that's the time where these institutions make their money. So it's not that it started off with mortgage lender A, then it went to B, and B decided, well, I'm just going to raise the interest rate. They can't do that unless that stip was enclosed in the initial mortgage agreement.
Okay. Okay. So basically, you know, because sometimes people, when they're in certain situations, they may get a letter from a mortgage company saying, well, you know, we've taken over this mortgage from this particular, we're mortgage B, we're taking it over from mortgage A. And, you know, this is going to be your interest rate. This is going to be a different stipulation of the mortgage agreement.
Well, they just can't, they just can't change that. I mean, as I say, you know, it's got to be based on the initial agreement. Okay, now if they're going to, if something like that comes out on Tuesday, that needs to be checked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay. When is your seminar?
We're going to have a free home buying seminar on June 3rd in Brooklyn, 6:30. If people want additional information, they can call the toll-free number. We'll make sure we get out information to them in terms of location, et cetera, et cetera.
And for those of you who missed it, that toll-free number is 1-888-820-20